Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Police Off the Cuff Real Crime Stories. I'm your host, retired NYPD Sergeant Bill Cannon, a 27-year veteran of the NYPD. Good to be back from the Thanksgiving holiday. I took a few days off. Hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. This case of Anna Kepner still persists, and many, many questions are being asked, sort of by a public that isn't very patient. But that doesn't matter whether the public is patient or not. The investigative body that is investigating this case, of course, is the FBI, right? And they don't really care uh, whether the public is impatient because they haven't made an arrest yet. This case has already been determined to be a homicide, right? So the manner of death has been determined to be a homicide, and the cause of death has been recorded to be manual asphyxiation through the use of a potential arm bar across the neck. Suspect, yes, we have that too. And they're calling him her stepbrother with the initials TH. And why hasn't TH been arrested yet? That's a great question, isn't it? He is a suspect. He's the last person to see her and see himself on video go into the room, go into the stateroom where Anna took her last breaths, where she died by, according to the medical examiner, the means homicide, the cause asphyxia. So there's no surprises here. So why is everyone making up all other manner of things, and inventing sensationalized things? The FBI is meticulous. They have already done interviews on TH. We all know he's a 16-year-old stepbrother. His name is Timothy Hudson, although they haven't officially released that. Everyone knows his name. Everyone knows all the nefarious details to this case, the attraction of him to his, could we even call her his stepsister? Very disturbing things, of course. And of course, the night before she was found, and that was November 6th, and she was found the morning of November 7th. Anna was with her family and reportedly told them she wasn't feeling well before heading back to her room. It was the last time many would see her alive. The next morning, November 7th, 2025, when Anna didn't appear for breakfast, her family began to search for her. Just after 11 a.m., a medical alert sounded over the ship's broadcast system. In the cabin she was sharing with her 16-year-old stepbrother and another sibling. And that, my friends, is very bizarre. What is an 18-year-old girl doing sharing a stateroom with a 16-year-old, really not related to her, a stepbrother? They're calling him a stepbrother. Not a good look. Not a good idea. Never mind the look. Just not a good idea, especially one who was infatuated with her, who was perhaps extremely attracted to her, and not in a good way, in a way that perhaps he would get aggressive in his advances towards her, in which she had no interest in. So these are some of the questions, of course, that should have been asked, and I'm sure the FBI did ask the family. When the cleaners discovered her body, that it was a housekeeper. Anna's body was found hidden under a bed, deliberately concealed with a blanket and life vest. We know all of these details. When the Carnival Horizon docked in Miami the next day, FBI agents swarmed the ship. Since Anna was a U.S. citizen and her death occurred in international waters, the case fell under federal jurisdiction. The ship became a floating crime scene as agents started piecing together what happened. Carnival Cruise Line stated it was fully cooperating with the investigation, but from that moment on, official details became almost impossible to find. The public knew a young woman was dead under suspicious circumstances, but the how and who remained a mystery. And of course, we know the prime suspect is, right? The prime suspect was her stepbrother, right? As it turned out, the silence from the FBI was deafening. But then the truth began to leak out, but not from a press conference, but from completely separate and unrelated court case. Court documents filed in a custody dispute between Anna's stepmother, Chantel Hudson, and her ex-husband revealed a shocking detail. Anna's 16-year-old stepbrother, they're calling him, right, was being investigated for her death. One filing explicitly referred to him as a suspect in what the document called a suspected murder. And of course, this revelation sent shockwaves through the media. The boy who shared a cabin with Anna was now the central figure in a homicide investigation. According to reports citing the family, investigators told them that surveillance footage was critical, showing the stepbrother was the only person seen going in and out of the stateroom during the time of Anna's death. The parents acknowledged in the court filings that their son could face criminal charges. The same documents also mentioned that he was hospitalized for a psychiatric evaluation after the cruise had a psychiatrist appointment scheduled for early December. The family's grief was now fractured by betrayal. In an interview with reporters, Anna's father, Christopher Kepner, said, "I do not stand behind what my stepson has done. I want him to face consequences." Yet, despite a named suspect and what seemed like a mountain of evidence, the FBI made no arrest. The question on everyone's mind was, why not? Why not? And as I said earlier on, the FBI does not get rushed by anyone. They do not give in to the public scrutiny, the public wanting answers. They simply do not answer them, So what happens in that environment? Well, in the media just starts interviewing family members, re-interviewing family members, looking for every sensational part of this case that could possibly be. However, we know that work in this business, or have worked in this business, homicide investigation, the only thing important is the case that is presented to the prosecutor. And in this case, it appears that it will be presented to a federal prosecutor because it happened in international waters. And we've raised other issues. Will the 16-year-old stepbrother be charged as an adult? Everyone wants to know that, because imagine he gets off on a technicality because he's a juvenile. We also know that the FBI interviewed him, interrogated him. Was Miranda in effect? You have the right to remain silent if you choose all of those things, the rights of the arrested. And apparently he waived the Miranda, and so did his mother, because the FBI interviewed him. Did he admit to anything? That's questions we have. Did he admit to this crime? Or has his grandmother said he couldn't remember anything? I don't buy that nonsense. Even when people are drunk, they remember things, all right? If he in fact was drunk, people are pointing the finger at that now, that, he was perhaps so drunk he doesn't remember anything. Bullshit. He remembers everything, right? And of course, the evidence that we all want is the forensic evidence. Besides the digital evidence and the video evidence, the forensic evidence, the evidence on the body. Did Anna have DNA underneath her fingernails from fighting off her supposed stepbrother? They already said that there was no SA here. Well, was there an attempted SA that she fought off? I don't buy that there was no attempt. Maybe there was no signs of a completed SA, but I think there was an attempt. So folks, hold on to your hats. Hold on to your loved ones. Hold on to your service dog. Hold on to your opinions. You're about to enter true crime from a police perspective. You're about to enter the off-the-cuff zone, the police off-the-cuff zone. There has to be some common sense.
They were the ones who called 911 to get him help, and now they're calling for change.
Have you or a loved one been injured in an accident with a commercial vehicle, like an 18-wheeler, delivery van, bus, or rideshare, and you weren't at fault? These cases aren't like regular car accidents. They involve corporations, insurance companies, and complex transportation laws. You need an experienced attorney who knows how to fight and win. That's where the team at 911 Law Call comes in. We connect you with top law firms that specialize in commercial vehicle accidents and have a proven track record of securing real compensation for victims just like you. The consultation is free. There are no fees unless we win. Call 866-814-2911 now. That's 866-814-2911. 866-814-2911. Justice for commercial vehicle victims starts here. 866-814-2911. No fees unless we win. That's 866-814-2911.
You know what? The question everyone is asking is, why no arrest? And when will there be an arrest? And I can just about guarantee you there will be an arrest. I can't tell you when, because the FBI investigates on their own schedule. They're not going to be pushed into making an arrest prematurely in their schedule. And until they're ready and until they're satisfied that they have enough evidence to get a conviction in this case, they will not move forward. Here's Channel 9 local news.
Tonight, new insight into the homicide investigation underway after a teenager was found dead on a cruise ship. Channel 9's Nick Papantonis spoke to a lawyer about the FBI's timeline and the question that's left the lawyer scratching his head.
The FBI tends to prosecute only if they have an airtight case, and so they want to make their cases very, very good.
Jack Hickey said he's not surprised FBI agents haven't brought charges in the case of 18-year-old Anna Kepner. The teen found dead under a pile of life jackets aboard their Carnival Horizon earlier this month. Sources told ABC the cause of death was homicide by way of suffocation. Family naming her 16-year-old stepbrother the prime suspect.
He was in a room with her. He was the only one seen coming and going. So I can't accuse him because I don't know what happened in that room. But the summation would be that he did something.
Hickey has spent 40 years representing cruise lines or their passengers in court. He said Kepner's suffocation on the ship gave agents a unique challenge ever since the Horizon pulled back into Miami because they only have limited control.
They took this ship, which is the crime scene, right? They took it and, oh, by the way, we're going to leave port at 5 o'clock and you can't sail, with the ship, so you better do what you're going to do. If the carpet has been vacuumed and shampooed, there goes the evidence.
Agents have not said when or if they plan to move for an indictment against the 16-year-old. Of all the leaks that have come out about the case, Hickey said he's surprised there's still information the public hasn't heard.
If there was a fight on board, what did the people in the surrounding cabins hear? Why aren't we hearing about people in the surrounding cabins?
In Titusville, Nick Papantonis, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Because the FBI doesn't owe you or anyone else an explanation. Why haven't you heard about it? We live in this world that the news seems to dictate everything, that information, that the demand for information, the public believes they're entitled to it. No, they are not entitled to it. This is a homicide investigation. And this attorney, whether he likes it or not, the FBI, as I said earlier, will do this investigation according to their own schedule. And they will do this investigation thorough. They will cross their T's, dot their I's, and they will make sure that they have a solid case before they move forward with it. So whether or not you, Mr. Attorney, Mr. Hickey Law Firm, or the public doesn't like the pace of the information coming, that's really, as they say, too bad. They do not work for you. In homicide investigation, it said that we work for God. We work for God, but we also work for the deceased and the deceased family, and trying to bring closure to find out who did this. And that's the most important thing, not that the public get information so their interests are met and they can find out, all the details about this. So the cases are tragic, and I guess it's fascinating because the public is so interested in it. So look at the wheels of federal justice and how they actually turn. If you're finding this breakdown of the investigation insightful, take a moment to subscribe to this channel, Police Off the Cuff. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share us with your friends and family, make lots of comments. So what's really happening behind the scenes here? The key to the FBI's timeline, of course, is forensics, right? And that boy next to his mother, to the left of his mother, in this picture, the 16-year-old, did he leave forensic evidence on the body of Anna Kepner? That will be extremely powerful evidence if, in fact, he did. Anna's death certificate was obtained by news outlets early in this investigation and confirmed the cause of death was mechanical asphyxia, stating that she was mechanically asphyxiated by another person. Anna's family later told ABC News that the specific method was likely a bar hold, a type of chokehold, and that she had bruises on her neck. However, the full detailed autopsy and toxicology reports can take weeks, if not months, to complete. These reports are vital. A toxicology screen will confirm preliminary findings that there were no drugs or alcohol in Anna's system, which helps establish her state of mind. The full autopsy will provide microscopic details about her injuries, the amount of force used, and any other trace evidence. The scientific certainty is a non-negotiable for a prosecutor. Beyond the autopsy, the FBI is analyzing a mountain of evidence. Agents have hours of security footage from the ship that they're reviewing frame by frame. They're also analyzing electronic keycard data, which creates a precise log of every time the cabin door was opened and by whom. This data can build a concrete timeline to either confirm or contradict witness statements. Agents are also examining cell phone records from everyone involved, looking for revealing texts or calls. Each of these elements needs to be woven into a single, cohesive narrative. The FBI is waiting for all the pieces to come together to form an undeniable picture of guilt. The other thing is that most people don't realize you cannot just collect evidence from, say, the family, their cell phones, their text messages, their emails, unless you have something called a search warrant. It's different, the cruise ship. The cruise ship, they could simply just get a subpoena, a court order subpoena, very quickly written by the federal prosecutor or a local prosecutor, and they could obtain all of the digital evidence, right? The video evidence, the smart card evidence of when persons or people entered into the room. So all of this again takes time, and no one wants to hear about that. Oh, this takes so much time. Why is it taking so much time? Well, that is the course of an investigation, and they have to do it correctly. Would you want to see this 16-year-old stepbrother, if he is in fact guilty, would you like to see him walk free because the investigative body, in this case the FBI, did something incorrectly? I certainly wouldn't. So this is a former Nassau County Police canine investigator who works for the cruise ships now, giving us a little background of the investigation of what he does on these cruise ships. And he believes, which he is a professional, about how solid of a case that the FBI actually has here.
Michael Gould, founding member of the Nassau County Canine Unit, who has great insight into the cruise ship security business after being hired by Princess Cruise Lines post 9/11 to inspect bombs with your canine unit. So it's great to have you here and to talk about your experience of working investigations on cruise ships. So let's talk about that. Tell us more about security protocols aboard these big cruise ships, because as we were just talking in the break, it's like a big moving city.
Right. Thanks for having me, Laura. Yeah. So, anybody who's been on a cruise, these mega cruise ships, there's 4,000 passengers, 1,500 crew members, 1,000 cameras. So actually security is pretty robust when you think about it compared to other places. If you can compare it to 9/11, where that was one of the biggest crime scenes in our nation's history, where things were spread out, evidence was spread out for blocks and miles. So the cruise ship, you're monitored every step you make. You have a crew, you have a card. They know every time that stateroom door opens. They have it every time you make a purchase. You go to the bar, the casino, the gift shop. Again, 1,000 cameras inside, outside, high definition. This is going to be an easy case to resolve. It's actually an abundance of evidence because they have to go through passenger cell phones. How many selfies do you take? The cruise ship has their own photographers going around.
Right.
So there's going to be an abundance of evidence, but the challenge is really narrowing it down to make an arrest of this 16-year-old who's the suspect.
And of course, there are no cameras inside these rooms, right? Inside the cabin rooms. And that's where apparently everything took place. But as you mentioned, the cameras in the hallway. So we're going to see eventually, or investigators have, I'm sure, seen, who was going in and up and down that hallway. And in terms of Anna Kepner's 16-year-old stepbrother, now a suspect in her homicide, according to his parents, who have been fighting over custody of him in court. So there's this whole family dynamic. Yeah. And you can't, as a cruise ship, say, you guys can't all be in the same room. We don't know the family dynamic of why they were all in the same room. There were 3 kids, so to speak. Anna was 18. How likely is a criminal case against him at this point? So many people are saying, why hasn't he been charged? What's going on?
Right. So there's going to be, as I said, an abundance of evidence. As you know, these cruise ships are alcohol fuel free-for-alls. Kids drink. Everybody's drinking. Once you get out into international waters, it's the cruise ship wants to make everybody happy. They do work very cooperatively with law enforcement because they want to protect their public relations aspect of it. So from the moment that body was found, so we have the body, we have the victim, we have a cause of death, manual asphyxiation, which of course is strangulation, aka a strangulation, and we have a suspect he was the only one going in and out of the room. So I think it's going to be a relatively simple thing when they get to charge him. They want to make sure they have enough evidence to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. But as you know, teenagers think they're smarter than everybody. So when it comes to interviewing him, he will be a relatively easy person if he even remembers. He could have been.
He's just to point out, he's already been interviewed. I don't know what he said. The only person or persons that know is the FBI and members of his family who were present when he was interviewed. That could be some of the strongest evidence. If he made admissions, if he made a confession, if he did, we certainly don't know at this point. But that, again, we spoke about that on another show, that the FBI would have had to read him Miranda if, in fact, they had probable cause to arrest him. And they may have had probable cause and yet didn't arrest him yet. So that's very important. But I would like to know what he said during these interviews, as would everyone else.
So intoxicated, he could have had blackout amnesia, alcohol-related amnesia. But the bottom line is there's a death, whether it was an intentional homicide or a manslaughter. I'm pretty sure this is going to be a simple case to crack.
And what happens when there is a death on a cruise ship, when there's a murder? I mean, we were talking about how there's a lot of different things that happen on cruise ships, but in terms of having a murder on a cruise ship, it's not obviously frequent, but what happens, is there a lockdown? What takes place?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. And there's a lot of controversy why they let the ship get underway when it did. But think about it. If there was a homicide in the Empire State Building, office building, you wouldn't shut down the Empire State Building. So they obviously secured the cabin.
Except they would shut down the crime scene. And on a cruise ship, that must be pretty difficult to do. The hallways, rooms adjacent to the room in question, keeping people out of there. So yes, it's a little bit different than as he compares it to the Empire State Building. And of course, the cruise ship wants to get on its way again. So are they rushing the FBI, or does the FBI have enough power to say, no, we'll tell you when we're finished? But very interesting. And how thorough did they actually process that crime scene?
Once it gets underway, law enforcement jumps on the ship, does their crime scene investigation. If they have to interview staff members, they stay on the cruise. As I said, the cruise lines are very cooperative. They even have a detention center, a detention room on cruise ships, because crime, suicides, overdoses, assaults, these things take place frequently because of the alcohol, but homicides are relatively rare because it's really something that even if you threw somebody overboard, it's on camera.
So a little bit of insight from someone who works in the cruise industry, a former member of the service from Nassau County Police. And now a word from our sponsor. FanDuel's got an offer you don't want to miss this NFL season. New customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet $5, and if it wins, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. You can build parlays, bet player props, ride the live lines, whatever your style. FanDuel has you covered. The NFL season is here. The only question is, are you ready to play? You must be 21 years or older and present in select states for Kansas and affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbookfanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York in New York. So, folks, that is basically where we're at in a nutshell. We're waiting for the FBI to come up with enough evidence that satisfies them that they have enough to charge this young man, this 16-year-old man, and that they have enough not just to charge him, but to get a conviction. And as I said, the FBI is not going to be pushed and to move forward before they are absolutely ready. I'm sure the FBI has interviewed every single member of the family here, and people that were on the periphery of this crime, people that were on the same area of the ship have been interviewed. All digital evidence has been gone through. All video evidence has been gone through. Text messages, cell phones, all of that stuff, search warrants were required in order to get all that information. So all of this takes time. And guess what? The media does not want to wait, nor does the public, because the public becomes just as impatient as the media. But folks, we're going to wait. We at Police Off the Cuff know how this works, and we're going to wait to see what they come back with. So as soon as we find out that the investigation is complete and there is an arrest, we will bring that news to you. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm Bill Cannon from Police Off the Cuff, Real Crime Stories. Have a great night, and God bless everyone. One episode just ain't enough.